The smell hit Emma first. Rotting food mixed with engine oil and something else she couldn't identify. She pulled her maintenance scanner from her belt and checked the readings again. The waste processing system showed a blockage in Sector 7, but the numbers didn't make sense. Something was eating the garbage faster than the recyclers could process it. Emma Walsh had been fixing broken things for 12 years, first on Earth's orbital platforms, and now on Ceres 7. She knew every pipe, every wire, and every sound the station made. This was different. She followed the service tunnel deeper into the station's belly. The artificial gravity here was lighter, making each step feel bouncy and wrong. Emergency lights cast long shadows on the metal walls. Most workers avoided this area. It was where the station kept its dirty secrets. The sound started as a whimper. Emma stopped walking and listened. There it was again, soft crying, almost like a child. She pulled out her flashlight and moved toward the sound. In the corner of a waste chamber, chained to a support beam, sat the smallest dragon Emma had ever seen. He was barely 2 feet long from nose to tail. His scales shimmered blue-green in the light, but they were dull from poor care. His wings hung at his sides like broken umbrellas. "Hey there, little guy," Emma whispered. She crouched down slowly. The dragon looked up at her with golden eyes full of fear. "What are you doing down here?" A metal door slammed open behind her. Heavy footsteps echoed in the chamber. "Get away from my property, human." Commander Rask's voice filled the room. The Corthan was 8 feet tall with gray skin like stone and teeth that could bite through steel. He owned half the contracts on Ceres 7. Emma stood up but didn't move away from the dragon. "Your property? He's a sentient being." Rask laughed. It sounded like grinding metal. "That thing is useless, too small to fight, too weak to carry loads, can barely make flames. I use him to eat garbage, saves me disposal costs." "He has a name," Emma said. She looked at the dragon. "What's your name?" The little dragon's voice was barely a whisper. They call me useless." "That's not a name, that's just mean." Emma felt anger building in her chest. She had seen enough cruelty in the mining stations. "What's your real name?" The dragon lifted his head a little higher. "Pip. My name is Pip." Rask stepped closer. "Doesn't matter what it calls itself. I own it. Bought it fair and square from a Dragon Clan trader. Cost me 50 credits. Best 50 credits I ever spent for a garbage disposal." Emma pulled out her tablet and started typing. "Actually, I don't think you do own him." "What are you talking about, human?" Rask's voice got dangerous. "Galactic Labor Law, Section 12, Subsection 47. Emma's fingers moved fast across the screen. "All sentient beings must be classified for legal ownership. Dragons are listed under combat, species, cargo species, or livestock, but dwarf dragons aren't mentioned anywhere in the classification system." Rask frowned. "So what?" "So if they're not classified as property, they can't legally be owned." Emma smiled. She had spent many boring nights reading legal documents. Human bureaucracy was something most aliens found confusing and annoying. According to the Galactic Labor Board, any unclassified sentient being defaults to free citizen status. That's ridiculous. Rask's face turned darker gray. "It's just a technicality." "Maybe, but it's the law." Emma kept her voice calm. She had learned that aliens respected legal documents even when they didn't understand them. "I can file a freedom petition right now. Takes about 10 minutes to process through the system." Rask looked at the dragon, then at Emma, then back at the dragon. Emma could see him thinking. Was 50 credits worth a legal fight with the labor board? Fighting bureaucracy took time and money. Time and money that could be spent making more credits elsewhere. "Fine," Rask growled. "Take the useless thing. But when it dies because you don't know how to care for it, don't come crying to me." Emma knelt down next to Pip. The chains around his legs were locked, but they were cheap chains. She pulled out her cutting tool and sliced through them. Pip rubbed his legs where the metal had worn against his scales. "Thank you," Pip said quietly. "Don't thank me yet," Emma replied. "We need to get you somewhere safe first." Rask was already walking away, muttering in his own language, probably cursing humans and their stupid laws. Emma helped Pip stand up. His legs shook from being chained for so long. "Can you walk?" she asked. "I think so." Pip took a few careful steps. His wings spread slightly for balance. "Where will I go?" "My quarters for now. They're small, but they're clean." Emma looked around the waste chamber. "Anything here belong to you?" Pip shook his head. "Just me." They made their way through the service tunnels. Emma walked slowly so Pip could keep up. His claws clicked on the metal floor with each step. Other workers stared as they passed. Most had never seen a dwarf dragon up close. "Why did you help me?" Pip asked as they entered the main corridors. Emma thought about it. "My grandmother always said you judge a society by how it treats its weakest members. Seemed like someone needed to treat you better. But I really am useless. I can't do what other dragons do." "Maybe you can do things they can't do," Emma said. "We'll figure it out." Emma's quarters were tiny. One room with a bed, a desk, and a small kitchen area. Pip looked around nervously. "The floor is fine for me," he said. "Nonsense, you can have the bed tonight. I've slept in worse places." Emma pulled a blanket from her closet. "Are you hungry? I have some protein bars." I haven't eaten real food in a long time," Pip admitted. Emma heated up a protein bar in her small cooker. The smell filled the room. She broke it into small pieces and handed them to Pip. He ate slowly, like he was afraid it might be taken away. "Tell me about dwarf dragons," Emma said. "What are you supposed to be good at?" Pip finished chewing before he answered. "My parents could sense things through rock, find ore deposits, fix small machines, but I never learned properly before." He trailed off. "Before what?" "Before the Dragon Clan sold me. They said I was a genetic mistake, that I made their bloodline look weak." Pip's voice got smaller. "Maybe they were right. Or maybe they were scared," Emma said. "Bullies usually are." Emma set up her sleeping bag on the floor. Pip curled up. On the bed, his tail wrapped around himself like a cat. For the first time since Emma found him, he looked peaceful. "Emma?" Pip's voice was sleepy. "Thank you. For the first time in years, I don't feel useless." Emma smiled in the darkness. "Get some sleep, Pip. Tomorrow we figure out what you're really good at." 3 days later, Emma still had a dragon hiding under her bed. Pip wouldn't come out when she was gone. He wouldn't come out when she brought food. He barely came out when she talked to him. The trauma of years being called useless had made him afraid of everything. Emma was running out of ideas when her work tablet beeped. Emergency repair in Tunnel Section 9. A mining laser had malfunctioned and burned through a control panel. The wiring was too small and delicate for human hands to fix. "Great," Emma muttered. She looked at the repair order again. The wires were only 3 millimeters wide. Even her smallest tools were too big. This would take hours of careful work with tweezers. She heard a small sound from under the bed. Pip had poked his head out. "What's wrong?" he asked quietly. "Work. Problem. I need to fix some tiny wires, but my hands are too big." Emma showed him the tablet. "See? The control panel got fried. Everything inside is smaller than my fingers." Pip crawled out from under the bed and looked at the screen. His golden eyes studied the damage photos. "Those are standard mining controls," he said. "The red wire connects to the primary relay. The blue wire goes to the backup system." Emma stared at him. "How do you know that?" "Dragons built most of these systems, before the big dragons decided we were useless." Pip touched the screen with one claw. "My father worked on control systems before I was born." "Your hands are small enough to reach inside," Emma said slowly. An idea was forming. "And your claws are precise enough to handle the wires." Pip looked scared again. "But what if I mess up? What if I make it worse?" "Then we fix it together." Emma grabbed her tool bag. "Want to come help me? I promise no one will hurt you. I'll be right there the whole time." The walk to Section 9 was the longest 10 minutes of Pip's life. Every person they passed stared at him. Some pointed and whispered. A few aliens laughed. Emma noticed Pip getting smaller and smaller, trying to hide behind her legs. "Ignore them," she said softly. "They don't know you like I do." The broken control panel was worse than the photos showed. The mining laser had melted through 3 layers of circuits. Wires hung out like colorful spaghetti. Emma looked at the mess and sighed. "This will take all day with my tools," she said. Pip approached the panel carefully. He stood on his back legs and peered inside. His head tilted as he studied the damage. "Main power coupling is still good," he said. "If we bypass the melted section and reroute through the secondary channels." He looked at Emma. "I think I can fix this. Show me what you need." For the next hour, Emma watched Pip work. His small claws moved with incredible precision. He could thread wires through spaces barely wide enough for a needle. When connections needed to be welded, he breathed tiny flames that were hot enough to melt metal but controlled enough not to damage nearby components. "How are you doing that?" Emma asked. "Your flames are so precise." "Dwarf dragon fire is different," Pip explained as he worked. "Big dragons make big flames for fighting. We make small flames for detail work." He welded another connection. "The Dragon Clan said it made us weak. But it's not weak. It's just different." Other workers started gathering to watch. Word spread that the human engineer had brought a dragon to help with repairs. Most had never seen a dwarf dragon work before. Pip noticed the crowd and started shaking. His claws slipped on a wire. "Hey," Emma said quietly. "Look at me, not them. Just you and me fixing this together." Pip took a deep breath and focused on the work. 20 minutes later, he backed away from the panel. "Try it now," he said. Emma activated the control system. Lights came on. Displays showed normal readings. The mining laser powered up without any problems. The watching crowd murmured in surprise. Someone clapped. Then someone else. Soon all the workers were applauding. Pip looked confused. "Why are they making that noise?" "They're clapping. It means they think you did a good job," Emma smiled. "Because you did do a good job. That was amazing work." For the first time since Emma met him, Pip stood up straight. His wings spread slightly in what Emma would later learn was a dragon expression of pride. I fixed it." "You didn't just fix it. You made it better than new." Emma patted his shoulder. "Ready for the next one?" Word traveled fast on a mining station. By the end of the week, Emma and Pip had fixed 12 broken systems. Each job built Pip's confidence a little more. He started walking beside Emma instead of hiding behind her. He began talking to other workers instead of staying silent. The breakthrough came during a shift in the deep tunnels. The mining crew had been digging for days without finding anything valuable. The rock scanner showed possible ore deposits, but they couldn't pinpoint the location. "It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack," the crew chief complained. "The scanner says there's something here, but we could dig for weeks in the wrong direction." Pip had been quiet during the conversation, but now he stepped forward. "May I?" he asked. He placed his claws against the tunnel wall. His eyes closed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then his scales began to shimmer with a faint light. 20 feet that way," Pip said, pointing deeper into the tunnel. "Down about 15 feet, there's a vein of copper ore about 3 feet wide." The crew chief looked skeptical. "You can sense that through solid rock?" "All dragons can sense metals, but dwarf dragons are more sensitive. We can feel the exact location and size." Pip opened his eyes. "My grandfather could map an entire asteroid just by touching the surface." They drilled where Pip indicated. 23 feet down and 14 feet deep, they hit the richest copper vein anyone had found on Series 7 in months. News of Pip's abilities spread through every level of the station. Mining crews started requesting Emma and her dragon partner for the hardest jobs. Pip went from being called useless to being one of the most valuable workers on the station. Emma watched the change with pride and worry. Pride because Pip was discovering his true abilities. Worry because she knew success brought attention, and attention wasn't always good. One evening they sat in Emma's quarters sharing dinner. Pip was telling her about the different types of ore deposits when he suddenly stopped talking. "What's wrong?" Emma asked. "I'm happy," Pip said, like he was surprised by the feeling. "For the first time in years, I'm actually happy. I have important work. I have a friend. I have a name that isn't an insult." Emma smiled. "You deserve all of that and more. But what if it doesn't last? What if they decide I'm useless again? Then we'll remind them how wrong they are." Emma reached over and scratched behind Pip's horns, something she had learned he enjoyed. "Besides, I've got all our successful repairs documented. Numbers don't lie." Pip curled up in his favorite spot on Emma's bed. But before he fell asleep, he had one more question. "Emma, why do humans see things differently than other species? Other aliens look at me and see what I can't do. You looked at me and saw what I might be able to do." Emma thought about it. Maybe because humans know what it's like to be underestimated. We're not the strongest or the smartest species in the galaxy. We've had to prove ourselves by being stubborn and finding new ways to solve problems. "I like that about humans," Pip said sleepily. "I like that about dragons too," Emma replied. "The smart ones anyway." Outside her small window, the lights of other ships moved across the darkness of space. Emma had no way of knowing that reports of their partnership were already traveling to distant parts of the galaxy, carrying news that would change both their lives forever. The message came through on a frequency Emma didn't recognize. She was in the middle of calibrating a new ore scanner when her tablet chirped with an incoming transmission. The sender was listed as Mining Platform Delta 4, but the voice that came through was small and scared. "Please, is this Emma Walsh? The human who helps dragons?" Emma looked around the maintenance bay. Pip was across the room using his precise flames to repair a damaged circuit board. She walked closer to him before answering. "This is Emma. Who is this?" "My name is Shine. I'm like your friend, a small dragon. I work on Delta 4 platform." The voice shook with fear. "I heard about Pip. How he's not called useless anymore. How he has important work." Emma's heart sank. She had hoped their success would stay local, but news traveled fast between mining stations. "Are you in trouble?" "Shine. They want to get rid of me. The platform chief says I eat too much food for the work I do. But I can do things. I can sense metal like Pip does. I can fix small machines. Please, can you help?" Pip had stopped working and was listening. His golden eyes were wide with concern. "I'll see what I can do," Emma said. "Send me your platform's legal information. I might be able to use the same law that freed Pip." Over the next weeks, more messages came. Dragons from mining platforms, cargo ships, and industrial stations across the asteroid belt. All of them small. All of them mistreated. All of them hoping that the story of Emma and Pip meant something might change. Emma spent her free time researching dwarf dragon situations throughout the sector. What she found made her angry. Thousands of small dragons were being used as living tools treated worse than machines. Most didn't even know their real names. "We have to help them," Pip said one evening. They had received 7 requests for help that day alone. "They're all like I was, scared and alone and told they're worthless. I know, but I'm just one person, and you're just one dragon. We can't save everyone." Emma looked at the list of names on her tablet. Each one represented a life that needed help. Maybe we don't have to save everyone. Maybe we just need to show other people how to save one. Emma smiled. Pip was getting smarter every day and braver. The scared little dragon she had found in the waste chamber was becoming someone who wanted to help others. They started small. Emma created a simple guide called Legal Rights for Unclassified Sentient Beings. She sent it to human workers throughout the mining sector. The document explained how the legal loophole that freed Pip could be used to help other dwarf dragons. Thai. Response was bigger than Emma expected. Human workers had always been uncomfortable with how dwarf dragons were treated, but they hadn't known what to do about it. The legal document gave them a tool to fight back. Within a month, 43 dwarf dragons had been freed using Emma's legal guide. Each success story spread to other stations. Human crews started specifically asking for dwarf dragon partners. Mining companies discovered that the useless creatures were actually incredibly valuable workers. But success brought new problems. The trouble started with a message from Series 7's administration office. Emma was ordered to report for a meeting with the station chief. That never meant good news. Station Chief Varga was a centauri who looked like a giant blue mantis. Her office was kept deliberately cold, which made most species uncomfortable. Emma sat across from her desk and tried not to shiver. "Your activities are causing problems, Miss Walsh," Varga said without introduction. "Mining productivity is down across the sector because workers are spending time on dragon liberation instead of their assigned duties." "Mining productivity is actually up," Emma replied. "Stations with dwarf dragon partners are finding ore deposits 20% faster than stations without them. That's not the point. You've disrupted the established order. The dragon clans are complaining. They say you're interfering with their property rights." Emma felt cold that had nothing to do with the temperature. Property rights? I thought the dragon clans considered dwarf dragons to be genetic embarrassments. Embarrassing or not, they're still dragons. The clans claim ownership of all dragon bloodlines. Varga's compound eyes focused on Emma. "They want this stopped." "And what do you want?" "I want my station to run smoothly without political complications." Varga handed Emma a transfer order. "You're being reassigned to the Kepler Belt mining operation, effective immediately." Emma read the document. The Kepler Belt was 6 months' travel away. It was also where problem workers were sent to disappear. "What? About Pip?" "The dragon stays here. He's proven useful for maintenance work. He'll be reassigned to another engineer." "No." The word came out harder than Emma intended. "Pip is my partner. We work together. You don't have a choice in this matter. The transfer is mandatory." Varga's voice got colder. "Unless you prefer to terminate your employment entirely." Emma looked at the transfer order again. Between the lines, she could read the real message. Stop helping dwarf dragons or lose everything. She left Varga's office with the document in her hand and anger in her heart. Pip was waiting in their quarters, working on a small welding project. He looked up when she entered. "How did the meeting go?" Emma showed him the transfer order. Pip's scales lost their shimmer as he read it. "They're separating us," he said quietly. "They're trying to." Emma sat down beside him. "But they made a mistake." "What mistake?" "They assumed I would choose my career over my friend." Emma smiled grimly. "They don't understand humans very well." That night, Emma sent messages to every dwarf dragon she had helped and every human worker who had joined their cause. The message was simple. The dragon clans were trying to stop the liberation movement by threatening the humans who supported. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Mining crews across the sector threatened to strike if Emma was transferred. Dwarf dragons refused to work without their human partners. Station chiefs found themselves facing production shutdowns unless they supported dragon rights. But the most important message came from an unexpected source. A transmission marked with the official seal of the dragon clans. "Miss Walsh." The voice was cultured and cold. "I am Flame Wing of the Morning Sky, speaking for the High Council of True Dragons. Your interference with clan property has gone too far." Emma felt Pip press closer to her side as they listened. "We are prepared to offer a compromise. Cease your liberation activities and we will ensure proper treatment of dwarf dragons under clan protection. Continue your interference and you will face the full legal and economic power of the dragon clans." The message ended with coordinates for a meeting location and a time limit for Emma's response. "It's a trap," Pip said immediately. "They don't want to protect dwarf dragons, they want to control them." "I know. But maybe it's time someone told the dragon clans what humans really think about their genetic purity ideas." Emma looked at her friend. "Want to come with me to meet some true dragons?" Pip's wings spread in the gesture Emma now recognized as determination. "I've spent my whole life being afraid of them. Maybe it's time they were afraid of me." Emma started packing supplies for the journey. She had no idea what they would face when they met with the dragon clans, but she knew one thing for certain. The scared little dragon hiding in her waste chamber was gone forever. In his place stood a proud, confident being ready to fight for his people. The dragon clans were about to learn that humans and dwarf dragons made a much more dangerous combination than they had ever imagined. 3 days later, Emma and Pip boarded a transport ship heading for the Dragon Clan meeting point. Behind them, they left a network of freed dwarf dragons and sympathetic humans that stretched across dozens of mining stations. Ahead of them waited the most powerful dragon civilization in the galaxy, creatures who had ruled through fear and genetic superiority for thousands of years. Emma checked her legal documents one more time and smiled. Sometimes the pen really was mightier than the sword, even when the sword belonged to dragons. The Dragon Clan fortress appeared on their view screen like a golden jewel floating in space. Drakmore Station was nothing like the industrial mining platforms Emma knew. Elegant spires twisted through the void, connected by bridges that glowed, with their own inner light. Everything about it spoke of ancient power and immense wealth. "It's beautiful," Pip whispered, pressed against the transport window. "Beautiful things can still be dangerous," Emma replied. She checked her tablet one more time. All her legal documents were ready, but she had a feeling the dragon clans wouldn't be impressed by paperwork. The transport docked at a bay that seemed designed for much larger ships. Emma and Pip walked down the ramp into a chamber with ceilings, so high they disappeared in shadows. Golden light came from somewhere Emma couldn't identify. 2 dragons waited for them. These weren't like Pip. They were 12 feet long with scales that shifted from deep red to brilliant gold. Their wings were folded, but Emma could see they would span 30 feet when opened. Everything about them radiated power and pride. "I'm Flame Wing of the Morning Sky," the larger dragon said. His voice echoed in the vast chamber. "You must be the human who thinks she understands dragons." "I'm Emma Walsh. This is my partner, Pip." Emma kept her voice steady. The dragons towered over them, but she refused to be intimidated. Flame Wing looked at Pip with disgust. "This creature is why we asked you here. Look at it. Tiny, weak, a stain on the noble dragon bloodline." Emma felt Pip shrink back behind her. Months of building confidence threatened to collapse in seconds. "He's not weak. He's specialized. There's a difference." Emma stepped forward. "Pip can do things your noble dragons can't do." "Such as?" The second dragon spoke for the first time. "Hide in garbage piles? Scurry through ventilation systems like a rodent? Such as precision work, metal sensing, detail crafting." Emma's anger was building. "Skills that created most of the technology you're probably using right now?" Flame Wing laughed. It sounded like rocks falling. "You know nothing of dragon history, human. We built this civilization through strength and fire. These genetic accidents had nothing to do with it." "Actually," a new voice said from the shadows, "they had everything to do with it." An ancient dragon emerged from the darkness. She was smaller than the others, barely 8 feet long, but her scales were pure silver. Both younger dragons immediately bowed their heads. "Elder Starlight," Flame Wing said nervously, "I did not know you were listening." "I listen to many things, young Flame, especially conversations about our history." The elder dragon looked at Emma and Pip with eyes like ancient stars. "Come with me, humans and small one. There are things you should see." They followed Starlight through corridors lined with crystal displays. Each one showed scenes from dragon history. Great battles, the construction of massive cities, dragons breathing fire to forge weapons and buildings. "What do you see?" Starlight asked Emma. "War, construction, dragons using fire for creation and destruction." Emma studied the displays more carefully. But something's wrong. In the older pictures, all the dragons are small, like Pip. "Very good." Starlight stopped at the oldest display. It showed dragons barely 3 feet long working together to build delicate machines. "These are the original dragons, the first of our kind." Pip pressed close to the crystal, staring at dragons that looked exactly like him. "But that's impossible," Flame Wing protested. "The pure bloodlines have always been large and powerful." "The pure bloodlines are artificial," Starlight said calmly. "Created through genetic manipulation 3,000 years ago. We were bred to be weapons of war, not the original dragons." Emma's tablet nearly slipped from her hands. "You mean, the dwarf dragons are the original dragon species?" We larger dragons are the modifications. Starlight moved to another display. When the galaxy entered its age of warfare, some dragons decided our people needed to be bigger and more aggressive. They used technology to change themselves and their children. That's not what we were taught, the second dragon said uncertainly. What you were taught was a lie designed to hide genocide. Starlight's voice turned cold. For 3,000 years we have systematically eliminated the original dragons. We called them genetic failures to justify destroying them. Emma looked at Pip. His golden eyes were wide with shock and something else. Understanding. How many? Pip asked quietly. Of the original dragons? Perhaps 800 remain in the entire galaxy, hidden, enslaved, treated as mistakes. Starlight touched the display with one claw. Your people are nearly extinct, small one. Flamewing and his companion exchanged uncomfortable looks. The foundation of everything they believed was crumbling. Why are you telling us this? Emma asked. Because lies have consequences. Because genocide is evil regardless of the justification. And because I am tired of carrying this secret. Starlight turned to face them fully. I am one of the last dragons who remembers the truth. When I die, this knowledge dies with me. Unless we do something about it, Emma said. What can you do? You're one human and one original dragon against an entire civilization built on lies. Emma smiled grimly. You'd be surprised what one human can accomplish with good documentation and stubborn determination. They spent the next 4 hours in Starlight's private archives. The elder dragon showed them genetic records, historical documents, and evidence of systematic persecution. Everything Emma needed to prove the truth about dwarf dragons. This will destroy the dragon clans, Flamewing said. He had grown quieter as the evidence mounted. Our entire society is based on the belief that we are the pure bloodline. Good, Pip said. Emma was surprised by the strength in his voice. A society built on genocide deserves to be destroyed. What will you do with this information? Starlight asked Emma. Share it, with everyone. Humans, aliens, other dragons. The truth has a way of spreading once it gets started. Emma copied the last files to her tablet. Pip and I didn't start a liberation movement. We started a revolution. As they prepared to leave Drakmore Station, Flamewing approached them one more time. I have spent my entire life believing I was superior to creatures like him. He looked at Pip with something that might have been shame. I was wrong. Being wrong isn't the problem, Emma said. Staying wrong is. The transport ride back to Series 7 was quiet. Pip stared out the window at the stars, lost in thought. Finally, he spoke. My people built the first starships, created the first galactic communication systems, developed the mining techniques that opened up the asteroid belts. His voice was full of wonder. We weren't failures. We were the beginning. And now you get to help them remember that, Emma said. When they arrived at Series 7, Emma found dozens of messages waiting. The liberation movement had continued growing while they were gone. More dwarf dragons freed. More human partners joining the cause. More mining stations refusing to work without their small dragon teammates. But there were also new messages. Threats from Dragon Clan supporters. Economic pressure on stations that employed dwarf dragons. Legal challenges to the freedom documents. They're fighting back, Pip observed. Of course they are. People don't give up power easily. Emma looked at the genetic evidence on her tablet. But now we have something they can't fight. The truth. That night, Emma composed the most important message of her life. She attached Starlight's genetic records, historical documents, and proof of the ongoing genocide. Then she sent it to every news service, every government office, and every academic institution in the known galaxy. The message was simple. The dwarf dragons were not genetic failures. They were the original dragon species, and they were being systematically exterminated by the creatures who had replaced them. Pip watched her send the final transmission. What happens now? He asked. Now we wait and see if the galaxy cares about justice more than it fears change. Emma looked at her friend. Either way, you're not useless anymore. You're the heir to the oldest dragon civilization in the galaxy. Pip's scales shimmered with pride and determination. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, for the first time in 3,000 years, the original dragons had hope. The first news report appeared 6 hours after Emma sent her message. She woke to find Pip glued to their quarters' communication screen, his golden eyes reflecting the glow of breaking news broadcasts. Headlines scrolled across the bottom of the display in a dozen languages. Dragon genetic scandal rocks galaxy. Evidence suggests ancient genocide. Are dwarf dragons the original species? Emma rubbed her eyes and joined Pip at the screen. A serious-looking Altarian reporter was interviewing a geneticist who held up DNA comparison charts. The evidence is conclusive, the scientist was saying. What we've called dwarf dragons have the original genetic markers. The larger dragons show clear signs of artificial modification dating back approximately 3,000 years. How is this possible? The reporter asked. Simple. History is written by the winners. In this case, the winners rewrote biology too. Emma's tablet chimed with incoming messages. Dozens of them. News services wanting interviews. Government officials demanding explanations. Academic institutions requesting access to the genetic data. But the most important message came from an unexpected source. Emma Walsh. The voice belonged to Commander Rask, the same Corthan who had once owned Pip. I need to speak with you. It's important. An hour later, Rask stood in Emma's quarters looking uncomfortable. The huge alien kept glancing at Pip, who sat calmly at Emma's desk. I came to apologize, Rask said finally. Emma nearly dropped her coffee. Apologize? To him. To Pip. Rask looked directly at the small dragon. I treated you badly. Called you useless. I was wrong. Pip tilted his head. Why are you apologizing now? Because I watched the news. Learned what you really are. What your people created. Rask pulled out a datapad. I've been reading about original dragon technology. The mining techniques we use. The metal sensing equipment. The precision welding systems. Your ancestors invented all of it. I know, Pip said quietly. I made you eat garbage. You, a descendant of the species that built half the galaxy's infrastructure. Rask's voice was full of shame. There's no excuse for that. Emma watched the exchange with fascination. She had never seen a Corthan apologize for anything. I accept your apology, Pip said, but I'm not the only one who deserves it. I know. I've sent messages to the 3 other dwarf dragons I owned over the years, trying to find them, trying to make things right. Rask looked at Emma. You did something incredible, human. You saw what the rest of us were too blind to see. After Rask left, Emma and Pip returned to monitoring the news. The story was spreading, faster than any galactic scandal in recent history. Every major news network was covering it. Social media buzzed with debates about dragon genetics and ancient history. More importantly, dwarf dragons across the galaxy were speaking out. Many for the first time in their lives. A mining platform near Jupiter released a statement signed by 12 dwarf dragons, detailing years of abuse and mistreatment. A cargo ship captain admitted he had been using 3 dwarf dragons as unpaid labor for 5 years. Mining companies scrambled to review their treatment of dragon employees. The dragon clans tried to fight back. Flame Wing of the Morning Sky appeared on several news programs, calling the genetic evidence fake and the historical documents forgeries. Other clan leaders demanded the suppression of what they called anti-dragon propaganda, but their protests sounded hollow against the mounting evidence. Independent scientists confirmed the genetic data. Historians found corroborating documents in archives across the galaxy. Archaeological sites revealed artifacts that matched original dragon designs. The breakthrough moment came when Elder Starlight made her own public statement. The ancient silver dragon appeared on every major network simultaneously. Her voice carried the weight of centuries as she confirmed everything Emma had revealed. For 3,000 years, I have watched my people commit genocide in the name of genetic purity, Starlight said. I have remained silent while the original dragons were enslaved, murdered, and declared worthless. No more. She provided additional evidence from the Dragon Clan's own archives. Secret documents detailing the genetic modification programs. Orders for the systematic elimination of inferior dragons. Records of thousands of dwarf dragons killed or enslaved over the millennia. The galactic response was swift and decisive. The Intergalactic Council of Species called an emergency session. Within 48 hours, they passed the Universal Sentient Protection Act, granting full citizenship rights to all dwarf dragons. Any mistreatment of original dragons was declared a crime against sentience. Mining companies rushed to offer employment contracts to dwarf dragons, not as tools or property, but as skilled partners with full benefits and respect. The precision work that had been dismissed as useless was suddenly recognized as incredibly valuable. Most importantly, dwarf dragons around the galaxy began to remember who they were. Emma received a message from Shine, the scared dragon who had first contacted her weeks ago. But the voice that came through the transmission was completely different. Confident, happy, proud. Emma, I wanted you to know. The mining platform gave me a real job, with a real salary. They call me Senior Precision Engineer now. Shine's joy was infectious, and I remembered my full name. My parents called me Shine like stars on water. I hadn't said that name in 20 years. Similar messages came from dozens of other dragons. They were remembering their heritage, their abilities, their worth. They were teaching their skills to humans and other aliens who appreciated their talents. The dragon clans faced a choice: adapt or become irrelevant. Some chose adaptation. Flame Wing of the Morning Sky appeared on the news again, this time with a very different message. We were wrong, he said simply. We allowed pride and fear to blind us to the truth. The original dragons are not our inferiors. They are our ancestors, and they deserve our respect and protection. Other clans refused to change. They retreated to isolated systems, clinging to their beliefs about genetic superiority. Without the support of the broader galactic community, their power faded quickly. 6 months after Emma's first message, the galaxy had transformed. The Dwarf Dragon Heritage Foundation was established to preserve original dragon culture and history. Mining operations specifically recruited dwarf dragon partners for their precision abilities and metal sensing skills. Universities created programs to study original dragon technology and philosophy. Emma found herself appointed as the first director of interspecies partnership development, a job that mostly involved helping humans and dragons work together effectively. It was exactly the kind of work she loved. But the best change was in Pip himself. The small dragon who had once hidden under Emma's bed now flew confidently through the corridors of Series 7. His scales shimmered with health and pride. He spoke to everyone he met with the quiet confidence of someone who knew their own worth. Do you miss the old days? Emma asked one evening as they finished another successful mining survey. You mean when I was called useless and ate garbage for a living? Pip laughed, a sound like silver bells. No, I definitely don't miss that. They sat in Emma's quarters, now expanded to accommodate Pip's growing collection of ancient dragon artifacts. Historical documents, genealogical records, and technological blueprints filled every available surface. I've been thinking about our partnership, Pip said. We make a good team. The best, Emma agreed. I want to keep working together, but I also want to do more. Pip spread his wings, a gesture Emma now recognized as pure excitement. I want to find other original dragons, help them remember who they are. Maybe even find some of the hidden communities Starlight told us about. That sounds like a lot of traveling. It does. Will you come with me? Emma smiled. When she first found a scared little dragon in a waste chamber, she never could have imagined the adventure that would follow. Now she couldn't imagine any other life. Of course I'll come. Someone needs to handle the paperwork. Pip laughed again, the pure sound of joy with wings. Outside their window, a transport ship approached the station. Emma's scanner showed it carried 12 passengers, all of them small dragons heading to new jobs as equal partners rather than property. Each one represented a life reclaimed, a heritage restored, a future full of possibility. The dragon called Useless was gone forever. In his place was Pip, descendant of starship builders, heir to an ancient civilization and living proof that sometimes the most important revolutions start with one person refusing to accept that someone else is worthless. Emma watched her friend study star charts, planning their next mission to find and help hidden dragon communities. His golden eyes gleamed with purpose and happiness. Pure joy, with wings, indeed. The galaxy was a very different place than it had been a year ago. And Emma, Walsh, practical engineer and accidental revolutionary, knew that the best changes were still to come.